Traveling has changed a lot over the past few years. As you probably know, COVID has hit the world hard, and now if you want to go traveling, it is not as simple anymore as it used to be. You need all kinds of requirements just to come into any country, and that makes a lot of people wonder if they want to go traveling anymore this year.
We are going to be telling you some tips, some advice on how we travel and live on a budget here in Thailand in 2022.
Because you know, coming here is really expensive and you do want to save a bit of money to experience a bit more.
The first thing that you're going to need when you go traveling is obviously accommodation.
What we do is obviously we look first of all through online websites such as booking.com or Airbnb.
Instead of just booking online straight away and paying the price that it says, it's actually better to just find the number for the hotel, give them a call. They've all answered pretty fast for us, and you can just ask them what the price is for a night. Usually they'll actually tell you it's cheaper on the phone than it is if you're booking on the price online.
Always.
We've actually noticed that when we called maybe 20 hotels in one day, about half of them were actually not in business anymore. They were actually closed because of COVID. So they were usually like the smaller backpacker places or hostels or small guest houses, which is quite sad.
Yeah, we feel like backpacking is kind of dying slowly. But back to the subject, what do we do is when we call them up, we actually try to arrange a deal. So instead of asking for a daily rent, we ask for a weekly rent. And we guarantee you that if you ask for a weekly rent, you're gonna get a deal. If you are planning to stay for longer than a week, for example a month, you're gonna get even a bigger deal. So this is a really good way to book your accommodations. Just get a local phone number, get some credit, and try to call as many accommodations as possible, and we guarantee you that you're gonna find something really good with a really good deal.
And actually on Airbnb, this kind of does it for you. So if instead of putting like staying for 3 days in an Airbnb, if you put a whole month, it comes up with a discount of like $100 less if you're gonna stay there for a month rather than a few days. So Airbnb is a good option if you want to find something that discounts it straight away for you.
So now that you arrived, you got your accommodation, the next thing is obviously transport to get around. Back in the days, what we used to do a lot was hitchhiking. It's probably the best way to see the country. I remember myself and my friend Andreas, we hitchhiked in 2016 all the way from Laos all the way down to Phuket, just hitchhiking. We didn't spend a single penny on rides. It was really cool. We met a lot of cool people. They were giving us food and telling us about the culture and stuff like that. But today is off the map because of current COVID situation. And obviously if you do try to stop someone might stop, but most likely people will not stop because COVID.
So since we can't hitchhike, the second best option that is cheap is getting the local buses or trains. We actually did that from Nong Khai all the way down to here where we are right now in Krabi, and it was a bit of a mission. Actually, a lot of the trains and buses don't run very often anymore. There was like one a day at the most random times. We had to wait in Bangkok for like 12 hours before we could get a bus. It was really long. So make sure you check the times before you book them and plan ahead a bit. You have to plan ahead a bit nowadays.
Yeah, there are always gonna be delayed buses and trains in Thailand. You cannot change that.
And if you're actually trying to get from one end of the country to another and you don't want to waste time on the buses and the trains because it is quite difficult right now, we think that the cheapest way to travel around Thailand at this present time is taking domestic flights. They're pretty affordable. Like if you're a budget traveler, they're still within your budget. It's probably similar prices to get in the bus all the way across the country.
Except that you save loads of time and energy.
Yeah, the only reason that we didn't do that is because we have a cat, so it's a little bit difficult
was a mission.
for us.
When you do get to your location where you're planning to stay a little bit longer, best thing to do is to simply rent a scooter, a motorbike, a motorcycle, whatever you prefer. If you do ride around in the area with like tuk-tuks and taxis, it's gonna cost you a lot.
Yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, definitely. So renting a scooter is literally the best option because you can explore the area yourself freely. Usually scooters cost about $5 to $10 a day if you rent it daily, but if you rent weekly and if you rent monthly, you'll probably save a lot of money and it will cost you about $2 a day, which is way better deal.
And most of the accommodations in Thailand usually rent motorbikes as well, so you can just rent it from your hotel and they'll make a deal with your accommodation as well. That's what we have done here in Thailand, and it works really well for us. Obviously, we're not saying that you shouldn't support the tuk-tuk businesses and stuff. We would recommend that you do support them because they are really struggling right now. It's just that before, when we would use tuk-tuks to get around sometimes, we would be able to haggle the price down and get it as cheap as we possibly could, but right now it feels kind of bad.
Yeah, it's
to
wrong.
Do that.
If you're trying
wrong.
to, yeah, I've seen people haggling here. It's kind of wrong because here tuk-tuks or just any local businesses haven't seen tourism in such a long time, and now first tourists that arrive here are trying to haggle for a deal. So that's kind of wrong, But if you are planning to stay here way longer than just a couple of days, like we said earlier, you should totally make a weekly deal to rent a scooter.
And actually renting a motorbike takes us into our next point, which is finding cheap food in Thailand.
Yes, so first of all, when you arrive to any touristy areas, you're gonna have restaurants all around your accommodation, loads of them, all kinds of food, but they're very overpriced. We're not saying that they're really bad quality or anything like that. They're probably amazing, but they're really, really overpriced, and that's because you're paying for the location. Now, if you arrive to Ao Nang, for example, if you are most likely going to stay at the beachfront, and if you eat at the beachfront, you're paying like 3 times more than you'd be paying somewhere in the local area for the exact same quality. Now, like Olivia mentioned before, if you do rent a bike, you have a bit of more opportunities to drive around and actually explore a bit more of the local cuisine, and that's gonna be way better for you because you're gonna be trying the real authentic Thai food, and also you're gonna save a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a better experience. But I mean, if you don't have a bike, you could even just walk 10-15 minutes in the opposite direction to where the tourists go. You're probably gonna find cheaper food like that as well.
We actually made a whole video on how we eat for $5 a day each in the local area, and it is really cool how much stuff you can get for only $5. I mean, usually in Ao Nang beachfront or any touristy area, you'd get just one meal for $5, where we just have the whole day's worth of food, plus we have extra snacks and fruit and so on, and which is amazing, Just need to go and wander off a bit to the local areas, and it's really gonna blow your mind up. Do it.
Okay, so now we've covered all of the main things, which is accommodation, transport and food, but there obviously is a few extra things you're going to spend your money on while you're here. So these are a few tips that we have for you to save on those little extra things, but it's gonna pay off in the end. You're gonna save quite a bit. So one of the first things is laundry.
Yeah.
So if you're in a hotel, they'll probably have a laundry service, but this can actually be quite spendy sometimes because it's usually they charge by the kilo.
How much is the kilo here? Someone told us earlier.
It's like 50 baht per kilo.
So 50 baht per kilo, it's nearly $2, just under $2. It's quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, we spend 50 baht for the whole entire laundry for a week or longer than a week worth of laundry, which is like 5-6 kilos. And obviously the first time when we were trying to do that, we didn't really know, so we were driving around looking for some lady to give our laundry to, and then we realized that there's like these laundromats where you can actually chip in a coin. You basically put in 20 or 30 or 40 baht depending on the amount of washing you need to do, and you buy your own liquid, which is another 20 baht, and then you just put it in. There's like an automatic timer. You press a button. You don't have to set anything up actually, and then just come back in an hour. Your laundry is ready, and then just dry it somewhere, put it up on dry in your own balcony, and because it's so warm in here, it takes about an hour to dry it, and in 2 hours you've got your entire laundry done for only 50 baht.
Yeah, so for like, we could maybe fit 2 weeks worth of laundry in one wash, and it's like less than $2. They didn't even have that in Laos when we were there for 2 years. We would always give to the lady and she would wash. Apparently in Thailand they have these cool little washing machines on the side of the road, so if you see them, use them.
Exactly, do it, because it'll save you loads of money, and plus you'll feel a bit like local.
The next thing that we're going to talk about is tours. Obviously, if you're coming to Thailand, you're probably most likely going to do at least one tour while you're here because it's just a really popular thing to do.
And you have to. I mean, if you're down south, you have to do at least one tour because it's really nice.
There's so many islands that you can't see without doing a tour, so you definitely should. But we just have a couple of little tips for you if you're going to do a tour. So the first one is make sure you go to multiple different tour companies and compare all of the prices for that same tour, because it's going to vary quite a lot. If you're going on a speedboat, it's going to be way more expensive than going on a group tour on a local boat.
And each tour has different prices because some of them can be very luxurious, some of them can be just simply private, some of them are just very public. It depending on what you want to do, because a lot of people are traveling solo, so maybe a public ride is better than a VIP boat, because you don't want to be alone and such things. But yeah, definitely go and look through every single different tour company to see what is the best deal and what is the best option for you.
And if you're traveling with a group of friends, you can actually just hire your own boat and all pitch in for that, and that might work out cheaper for you. But yeah, going around and comparing the prices is a good idea. And be aware that in Thailand, a lot of the areas where the tours go are national parks. So there's going to be a fee to go in them. It's around 300 to 400 baht per person, so that's like $10 to $12. Sometimes that's included in the tour price and sometimes it's not. So if the tour looks cheap, ask them if the national park fee is included or not, because if it's not, it's probably going to be more expensive than it looks.
So another very popular thing that people spend money on is obviously drinking, partying. You know, like we all done it. Like it's just normal. Of course, you're coming to Thailand, you're gonna have some drinks. You want to go to the pub, you want to go to a club even and have a little dance and stuff like that. That is totally fine. And obviously, this things comes with a price. You are going to spend quite a lot of money. That's where people spend most of their money, usually on partying and going out and stuff like that. Now, going out is a really cool thing, especially when you want to meet some new people. It is really cool. We do it every now and then. But going out every time, all the time, it can become extremely expensive.
Yeah, so like beers in bars can be around $5 sometimes.
Yeah, it can be.
Each. It's quite a lot. That's like our food for the day. So
Pretty much.
So one thing that we have noticed that locals actually do is they go to the beachfront or the public spaces that are really nice and they take a map, they take a picnic, they take drinks from the shop and they just sit down with a speaker.
Bring like a massive ice bucket in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes we drive past, we just look at them, we're kind of jealous, like, can we join you guys? Because it really looks cool setup. They have the music, they have the barbecue, they have the drinks, the whole family there. They're right at the beachfront. Bring in your friends, bring in your mats, bring in some food and some drinks and maybe a speaker. It could actually be way better than just sitting in a pub with... Sometimes the music's not your favorite, sometimes the people are annoying, sometimes the people can be too loud, or sometimes it's just simply too expensive. So drinking outdoors in Thailand, it is pretty legal. We've seen locals doing it all around the beaches, so it is really cool to do that. So don't worry about having a drink with your friends somewhere at the beach. If you bring a bottle or a few beers, it is totally fine. As long as you pick up your rubbish, it'll be fine.
So these were the main things that people usually spend their money on when they go traveling. Obviously, maybe you'll buy souvenirs or clothes or...
Lots of elephant pants.
Yeah, stuff like that, but that's completely up to you what you want to spend your money on. This was just to give you some tips and advice on how to save some of your money so you can travel for a bit longer while you're here in Thailand.
If you do all of these tips that we just suggested you, you're definitely going to save a lot of money. And plus, you're going to experience Thailand a bit more.
To the fullest.
To the fullest.
So we hope this video was helpful for any of you who are wanting to come to Thailand, travel to Thailand, maybe stay here a bit longer than a week for a holiday. And yeah, I hope these tips and advice were useful. And if they were, hit the like button because it helps us out.
It helps us out a lot. Hit subscribe. You probably hate hearing that. Subscribe, like, subscribe, but do that because it really helps us out. And we'll see you next time.